touched earlier on spousal consent. I'm interested in how that affects trans people applying for a certificate, whether it should be removed, and your view on the kind of counter argument, really, as to whether, so some people would argue that there's the possibility of a spouse being kind of trapped in a marriage where obviously the circumstances have changed a great deal, or might argue that it might force a divorce in a scenario where, perhaps for religious reasons or whatever, people aren't comfortable with divorce. I wonder what you make of those arguments and your views on the spousal consent provision overall. And what is your view of the role that they play? Some people have argued it's inaccessible, it's too secretive, various issues around it. I just wanted to ask of Nancy, on the basis that it was from your written evidence that it cropped up. And you and I spoke about this before last year, and agreed on a lot of the stuff, particularly around bureaucracy and the complexity of it all. The thing that perhaps we couldn't agree on, and the thing that I think gets to the heart of the Act and the discussion around it, is what you put in your written evidence, the suggestion that the Equalities Act should include gender identity instead of gender reassignment, and perhaps remove things like single-sex space exemptions. That seems to be the heart of the conflict, if that's the right word, around all of this. Do you see the kind of argument and the conflict, if you think there is one, around doing that and the rights of women based on sex under the Equality Act? And if you do, how do you suggest kind of resolving that conversation? The issue, obviously, that is raised all the time around lowering the age limit is around safeguarding and around what is the kind of appropriate use or time to intervene. The Tavistock, I think, has had around a 4,000% increase in young girls in terms of its patients in the last 10 years. I wonder why you think that's happening, and do you think there is a role for some of the campaign groups talk about young girls in particular being affected by peer pressure, by online forums, by the kind of desire to avoid perhaps the sexualization of young women that we have in our Western culture? Do you think those things are factors at all?